Hey guys, it's Ben with Myers Woodshop. Today we're going to be going over my ultimate CNC enclosure video build. Built this with aluminum extrusion, plexiglass, and some cheap panels from Lowe's. So let me walk you through what I did. This video is going to walk you through exactly how I built it and how I screwed up and rebuilt it. So don't make the same mistake I did. First, check out this table build that I did. That's the first part. That's the table it's sitting on. So that's in this video here. After you watch that video, you'll see how I modified the tabletop because it wasn't quite as big as I needed it to be. So check it out. So you can see I built the machine and placed it on top. I wanted to get the proper dimensions, make sure I have everything measured out before I start cutting that extrusion because it's pretty expensive. Now, one thing I did not account for was the dust boot stick out in front of the machine. I just was checking on the front plate. So if you're doing this, you're going to use the dust boot, account for that. So we're going to need some extra room on the front of the Y. So I had Lowe's cut a piece of 3/4 MDF right in half so I can fit it in my wife's car. And I just screwed that to the top of the 3/4 inch plywood. Gives me a little bit sturdier of a tabletop. And I thought that would be pretty good, but I was wrong because of the dust boot. So if you're gonna measure how far you need to remember the motors are hanging off the rails. So from the back of the motor to the front of this dust boot, we're gonna safely say 49 inches. And then again, we have a motor hanging off over here, so we can't just measure the feet. So this foot is going to be fine if we measure from that edge and we measure over here to about the end of the motor. And we're going to safely say about 46. Now I believe my aluminum extrusion that I'm going to be able to frame out is 1 inch thick. We're going to open that box up and check that out. But we need to leave at least 1 inch around the whole machine so our aluminum extrusion can just sit down on top. I'm not going to attach that to the table in case I ever need to do anything. I'm just going to be able to pick it up and move it. Maybe I will attach it later or, do some clips to hold it in place. But my idea in the head is to just place that right over top and you'll be able to just lift it up and move it in a later date. But let's open the aluminum extrusion that I got. I'll leave links down in the description below. I just bought them on Amazon and we're gonna measure that, kind of lay it out and see how that works. So you can see the aluminum extrusion I have. It's just got some slots in all 4 sides. I bought long sticks so I can cut them in half and hopefully get long enough pieces. I think I might be a little short and I'll have to get some more sticks. So here's the extrusion. We're going to measure it. It should be exactly 1 inch wide. Exactly 1 inch wide. So when we account for our table, we need to add 1 inch to it. So we need to come out, let's see, my table needs to be a little bit longer. So if I add 1 inch and that dust boot ends about there, to safely say we need to add 4 inches to my table this way. So I'm just going to cut a 4-inch strip out of MDF, move this table forward, put a 4-inch strip along the back, screw that down, screw this one down, and it shouldn't interfere with our cutting area. It'll still be level. It'll just give us a solid platform to put our enclosure on. All right, so we got our little extra piece. I'm going to scoot the table forward so I have room to work from behind. And now I got to scoop this piece forward. I'm just going to grab the machine and slide it, the whole thing forward. So I'm going to take my piece of MDF and I'm going to make it completely square against the back of this piece of plywood because when I push it up against the wall, I don't want a lip. I want this to be completely flat against the wall. And the lip is fine on the front side. So I'll straighten it out like this. I'll make it perfectly square here. And now I'm just going to drill some screws up from the bottom into the piece of MDF. And that'll give us our that'll give us our back piece. And we'll scoot the machine back against here and then screw up into the bottom of the table. Okay, now that we have that on, we'll just grab the machine and shove this top MDF piece back against it. Try to get this as close as you can. So we don't see a seam. It's not that important that it's straight, but there we go. Now we have extended our table. Now I need to know how far back I can bring the machine. So I have the motors I need to stop before they come to our aluminum extrusions. And then I'm setting this down here at the very edge just so I know how far back I can move it. I'm not cutting this yet because I don't want to cut it wrong. So I want to make sure they'll fit all the way around. So I have 4 screws in each feet. I'm going to scoot the machine as far as I can back before the motors actually cross over this aluminum extrusion. I'm probably going to give myself ½ an inch distance between the two. So we're looking about right there. Let's check out the front. The front looks real good. We're away from the dust boot. So let's get another piece of extrusion. And we'll set it down in the front. And we can see that we're plenty far enough away from the dust boot. So I really like where it's sitting right now, the distance in the back and the distance in the front. I'm happy with this. Now we need to make sure we're distanced correctly on the left and the right side. I don't have to worry about this mount because I'm going to mount this mount externally on the outside. So because I'll need to access the touchscreen and I don't want to access it while everything's closed up. So we're going to take this off and mount it onto the aluminum extrusion external part of our enclosure. So we'll check the left and the right side now. So I'm just going to take my extrusions and we'll put this one over here. And we're going to take this one and put it on this side. So here we are, we have our extrusions on the table, and I can already tell you that this motor is way too far over this aluminum extrusion, so it has to go that way. We have nothing else in the way other than cords that are going to be plugged into the side over here. So on this side, we need to worry about the plugs plugging into here, and we need enough room for that. So this is going to be a little tight. You may want to add another inch, 2 inches to your width, but as long as my motor is cleared on that side, then I'll be completely happy. So I'll scoot it over to where I believe the motor will clear this side, and we'll kind of check that out. We're about here, so we have enough room here, and we'll check it out on the other side. That looks like plenty of room for our cables to hang down and move back and forth. So we need to square it up on the table. So how I'm going to do that, so I'm just going to take this extrusion off. I'm going to measure the distance on this one, and that's 5 7/8. And then I'll come over here and measure the distance over here. We're at almost 5.5 here, so I'm going to bring it forward a little bit to make it perfectly 5.5. And then on this side, we're going to stop it, and we're going to make it 5.5 as well. So I'm going to scoot this forward till it hit 5.5. That's 5.5, and then I'll scoot this one forward just a smidge. So we're at 5.5 on this side, and then we'll see how far over we are here. We're 2 3/4, and then in the back we need to match that. We're 2 3/4 there. So we're going to pivot off of this corner. So I'm going to throw in a screw. So that got that point. I'm going to come on this side, and I'm going to hit it with a screw on this side. And now I'm going to push the rail all the way back so we square the machine rails together. I'm Make sure that the rails touch the back end on both sides, which they are not. And you saw how that pinched them all together and made them straight. So that's square now to itself. And we'll throw in our screws in each corner now. And then once we get one screw in each foot, we're going to go ahead and screw down all 4 feet. So there's 4 holes in each foot. We're just going to screw down a screw in each hole. I've only been running the beta machine with 4 screws in each foot, which has worked perfectly. But now that we're making an enclosure and we're going to keep it exactly how it is, we're going to go ahead and screw it in permanently. So our machine is now fully screwed in. Everything works. And we'll slide it forward just to make sure that we have the machine square and everything moves right. And I forgot to attach the base. Once we have everything finished and screwed in, let's push it forward. Just make sure that it slides correctly. We did our math right to where they touch the front evenly and everything's good. And they do. Everything looks correct. So now it's time to cut the metal. This is the first time I've ever cut metal in the shop. So Tools Today sent over a beautiful Amana tool Mamba non-ferrous plastics PVC cutting blade from my chop saw. So let's install that and cut this stuff to size. All right, we cut our 4 sides, and then we cut 2 of the top. I actually am 2 sticks short of cutting one long enough to go across because I had to extend the table out. I didn't plan that so well. So now we need to figure out how high up we want our sides to go. And I'm gonna guess around the height of the hose boom. So I'm gonna see what kind of sticks I have left over. If I can get these in half, I can get more supports up there. So we're gonna say somewhere around here looks correct. So I'll put my thumb on there and measure that. This doesn't have to be so exact. Just have to make sure we're clearing everything. Now when I have a spindle in here, I'm gonna have a ton of things sticking out. So if I am even just off the table going to right here, I have plenty of clearance to come out. I may even shorten it to around here. So let's see that distance, and we'll round to a straight number. We'll go to a 2-foot section. So we'll do 2 feet, and that'll be how high it is. I'm gonna cut 1, 2, 3 on this side, 3 on that side, and I'll probably put 1 in the back middle. I'm gonna figure out some doors in the front, so I'm not gonna cut any for that yet, but we'll at least do the corners and the supports of the sides. So let's cut 3, 6, 7 of these at 2 foot. All right, so I got my upper rail supports cut 2 foot long. I actually only ended up with 6 because all the rest of it was a little too short. So I'll have to order some more of these extrusions, which I have to do anyways. So I have the connector pieces I bought here on Amazon. Bought a bag of them. So we have all the 98-degree brackets for the corners, washers, screws, and then the little pieces that slide into here to connect everything together. So first thing I'll do is I'll take off the upper part. So we'll attach that later. And we're gonna get these connector pieces. And since I want 3 uppers over here, we need to have 1 in the center here. So we're going to take 1 connector piece and slide it in here first, because we won't be able to do that later. So one in this side, and we're going to do one in the matching side on the other one. And one in this side. And now we're going to do 2 on the front. One here and one over here. We also need a connector to connect these 2 pieces. So we're going to slide one here and one here. So we'll slide one down this way. Then we'll slide one down this way. And we have to do that on all corners. So anything you do to one side, you have to match on all 4 sides. And again, this is just for the base, so we're going to have to do it on the top too. I'm going to slide one for the back because we're going to have a back middle brace just to help hold it up. And then we need them on the sides to get the 45-degree angle ones. Oh, we have all our nuts in there. Now we're going to need these 45-degree angles. About a 20 bracket piece. We'll need the screws. And we'll need the washers. And this came with an Allen wrench. So on each corner we'll have to get 2 of these. And we're just going to flip it to the side for now to make it easier to attach. So we can look down. Get one of these screw bolts with a washer on it. Slide it through here. And we're going to put in the Allen key and attach it to this nut inside. And you're not tightening all the way down because we're going to have to move it. We're just getting sort of tightened. And we're going to turn it on its side. And we're going to take our Allen key and kind of slide it to where these 2 match up. And I like to put my Allen key inside there. So the holes match up. And again, we'll get our bolts with our washer and attach into the corner. So at this point, we can tighten this down. Then we'll tighten this one down. So that's one corner. Now we're just going to repeat for every joint we have. We can see it in its stages so far. We have the base fully done down on the bottom. We have 3 rails on either side vertically. Then we have our support beam across the top. I need to put 1 more rail across the middle, and then I need to do one going, a bar going from there to there, and a bar going from here to here, and then one down the center to give it some rigidity. I'm going to have to figure out the doors. I'm thinking I'm going to have a bunch of pieces left over, and I think I can make some doors out of that that'll swing open on either side. I may have to find some 3D printed hinges to where I can open either side, and some doors, some handles. So I'm going to order some more of that, and then we'll come back and I'll finish off these pieces, and then we'll figure out the doors.
get stuff on me.
Hi there. Is there a project you're working on?
I know more than you.
All right.
Well, that was an epic fail, and a very expensive one at that. Trying to cut these panels to slip inside is near impossible because if you're a little bit off in any way, you're not going to be able to fit it in there. So don't do that. And then anytime you're cutting around the little hinge pieces that hold everything together, you're not going to be quite close enough, so it'll be not soundproof. So I'm going back to the store and I'm going to spend my money, which sucks. And I'm just gonna get a big panel to go right on top and I'm gonna screw it in and it won't go inside. Also, I realized if I ever had to do something inside, I'm gonna have to either climb in or I can't take the panels out on the side. So if I screwed it into the side, I could just unscrew it and access anything. So I'm still gonna do clear in front and then wood in the back. However, you will need to put the clear inside the doors. So that is one thing that works, because when you open the door, it'll stay inside. So I'm gonna keep the inside of the doors. I guess you could put it on the outside, but I like the look of it recessed in there. That's one thing that worked out pretty well. So I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna go back to Lowe's and make another huge mistake of just buying pieces to go on top of everything. The sucky thing about this is I built it over 2 foot, so you can't use a 2x4 piece of wood because it's bigger than 2x4 by like ½ an inch to an inch on both sides. So you have to buy a 4x8 to get the right size cutout on there, which sucks. But we don't have another option. So back to Lowe's and I'm gonna rethink this. Well, I'm an idiot. So here I am at Lowe's again, spending another buttload of money. All right, so I got the hinge file. It's 2 separate pieces printed. They fit together. It'll use a bolt with a nut down through the center, but it'll slide in the rails here on both sides. So we need to take the door off. Now once the door's off, we actually have to take off the top rail and then up here loosen that so we can slide in our pieces for the hinges. And we're going to do it with the bolt side down. So all we have to do is slide them off. So we'll get a Allen key. We'll loosen that one. And we'll loosen the bottom one. And that should allow us to slide this kind of out just a smidge. And then we're making sure the bolt side or the nut side is down, so it'll be this way. And we're going to take them apart. And then we'll slide in our hinge. Now this is an extremely tight fit, so it may take a little bit of persuasion. So we got the bottom in. Now I've just got to force it down. So I'm going to take a rubber mallet and just give it some gentle taps. So it'll go down like that. And we're just going to install our hinges at the very bottom on both sides. So it'll be kind of like that. And it should hinge open. Now we've got to put it on this side. And that's how it'll go. So now we can slide on the other side of the hinge. So this may be where you want to make sure you line up everything the way it's going to go. Because I know it'll fit in this way. Make sure I'm attaching this correctly. So I'm going to go up and in. So I'm going in here. And we've attached that. So now we can test our fit. We fit these two together. They fit about near perfect, like that. And now we can open and close. So we'll have to get the measurement for this one right because it is down too far. We need it to go up the diameter of the base of this. So I'm going to take my little cutoff. I'm going to put it right here. And I'm going to tap the cutoff piece. And that's the correct height now, or should be pretty close to where we actually need the hinge. So now we'll get the rest of the hinges and just put them on. So at this point, I've pretty much finished the enclosure, but I wasn't super happy with how this came out. It could be done better. When looking up how to connect these things, with these little L brackets were like the first thing I came across, and that's what I just put it all together. But I did find that they make these brackets that can go on the outside or inside. And I decided, man, I really need to do that. Then I can make a full seal of this on the front, because that's really where the sound is coming out. Although it's super quiet with what it is, this will deaden the silence and make sure that all of the chips stay inside even better. So this is from a company called 8020. I looked up their cost on these things and they were outrageous. There's like $8 a piece and then $8 a piece for shipping. So I found this pack at Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description below, of course, for everything I've used on this and on the plans that I release. It's a pack that comes with all of the hardware, and it does work with this. So I took the one side off, and I have started to put those pieces on here, so they'll be on the inside. You can see as compared to how this is on the, inside the brace. These are on the outside, so I can slip a full sheet inside. So I took that off. I haven't taken this off yet. I'm going to try to put it on, because once you get these pieces from Rowdy Roman on to the extrusions, you are going to have a really hard time taking them off, because they're made to press fit in and never come out really. So I'm going to finish attaching this side as soon as I get two of these pieces cut. Thankfully, some of my waste that I did not use from the other pieces are big enough in here, so I'm going to go to the table saw, cut two new pieces, re-laser on the logos, and then slide these in, and I'll show you how I took this apart and put these cross pieces in the front. The front is really all that I need those these plates, because everything else turned out pretty well. So I'm going to do these plates on all the corners of the doors, and then we'll have a perfect seal. All right, I just installed my soundproofing up in the top part. You could, if you wanted to, do the whole back part, but if you're not cutting with a vacuum, you're gonna get dust in that stuff. I just wanted to add a little bit up top. And now I'm gonna see, you can see I pushed my vacuum hose through the hole along with my router, and I'm gonna take the Rowdy Roman vacuum boom and attach it. I have already attached the back base part. I couldn't do it on camera because you can't really see it, but you can attach it to any of the 4 posts. He has a video about it, so take a look at that. But I'm gonna have to adjust the size of this boom, because when this is plugged into the back, you can see I didn't even get it in, and it's rubbing the top. So I need to make it a bit shorter to cover that. And I think what I'm going to do is actually just take the bottom piece out, take the end piece out and switch the bottom piece with that end piece. And that will actually make my boom a little bit longer and give me a farther reach to the center. And we're going to test that size out. And if I do that, we have the proper cord length. So it allows for our router cable to go ahead and go in there. And then my vacuum hose will come across like this and go right into the dust boot. And at this point, you can either attach with the zip ties, or we can attach with the clips. Since I reuse my vacuum hose with different things, I'm going to attach the clips on here, and then we'll be perfectly fine. So that's how I am going to deal with the hoses and cords, this little vacuum boom. So that is that part. I didn't have to cut any of the piping. We just reconfigured it to fit in here. All right, guys, I'm finished. Woo! I'm finished, guys. I'm finished. It's all done behind me. You can see. I'm going to bring you in close so you can see all the ins and outs of this thing. All right, the first thing you can see, I took off the camera or the tablet mount and just VHB taped it here, mounted it vertically so that I can access the tablet anytime while keeping the doors closed for safety. And up here is out of the way, so any kids that come in are not going to touch that. You'll notice I got 3 hinges on either side of the doors and 2 handles. This is from Rowdy Roman. He'll have them on his Etsy shop. So if you're going to make this, you can buy it. They just slide into the channel. There's no hardware that comes with it. So that works really nice. So we can open up either side of the door. Notice that I did change this out to the triangular holding as opposed to this inside the groove, because I can get the plexiglass acrylic to fit directly in that groove, and I won't have any holes on the corners like I did in my original plan, and we'll keep the sound and dust in. So on the center here, I mounted one of these triangle pieces to stop the top from banging it and going further in. So that's a stop for the doors. On the bottom, I glued, well, I used the VHB tape between these two pieces, and then VHB tape to mount this magnet onto there. So I about finished my CNC enclosure. You can see in here the router is running. It's pretty quiet, and doing some ball nose finishing stuff. So